from the Library of Congress and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Going?
We're going.
This is Emilye Crosby on December 3rd, 2015, with Mrs. Leesco Guster in her home in Port Gibson, Mississippi. And we're here with the Civil Rights History Project, which is co-sponsored by the Library of Congress and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. And also here are John Bishop and Guha Shankar. And thank you very much, Ms. Guster, for joining us, for letting us come and interview you today. Could you start by telling us when and where you were born?
Port Gibson, Mississippi. In fact, straight down on, they call it Main Street. I think the little house, it might be gone now, but I was born right across from the health department.
That's a good location.
That's all I can say. Down the hall across from the health department.
Did your mother have a midwife?
Midwife.
Yeah.
Midwife.
When were you born?
March 26, 1936.
What was your, tell us about your family and growing up.
Well, mostly I had a single mom. At the age of about 6, she left and went to Vicksburg. So later she got me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we lived, in Vicksburg. She and my father separated.
What kind of work did your mother do?
Pardon me?
What kind of work did your mother do?
Domestic work.
Mm-hmm. And what was your schooling like? What were the schools like you went to?
Well, sort of like these. You start at one, you go so far, like at Magnolia in Vicksburg. I went to the 5th grade. Then I had to go over to McIntyre and go to the 8th. Then you have to go back to Magnolia to go to the 10th.
Really? Why did you go back? I mean, how did they just...
That's how the grades was running
Uh-huh.
at those schools during that time.
Did you like school?
I liked it.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite subject?
I was kind of lazy. I like home ec. I never did any kind of sports or anything.
Yeah. What was Port Gibson like in those days?
Well, see, I didn't come here to live until 1953.
Okay.
I came down here then.
So since you were living in Vicksburg, when you came to Port Gibson, did it seem like a little small town to you?
Well, it wasn't too often that I came down here.
Yeah.
But I thought it was, at that time it was fine.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of, on the dead side. But at that time I thought it was blooming.
Yeah. Can you describe what it was like in those days?
In Port Gibson?
Mm-hmm.
Well, number one, they call it, back then they called it Negro Street. Joints was all up and down the street. People standing around. Stores up and down the street, but all of that left.
That's Fair Street, right?
That's Fair Street.
Yeah. It was just busy.
It was busy. You could hop from one door to the next one.
Yeah. Did you like going over there?
Yeah, I was young at that time. I was young.
You were saying at that time?
That street, the people were alive.
Yeah.
You drink what you want. I wasn't a big drinker, but I sure like to eat. And then you go eat.
Where would you eat on Fair Street?
We had one cafe called Peaches.
Mm-hmm.
She had good food.
Yeah.
She had good food. Laura Killian.
Yeah. What is your first memory of being aware of race and segregation?
Well, really and truly, I guess all along, just by instinct. But see, at that time it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
because I used to do domestic work and stuff like that, and I didn't. But as I grew older and stuff, I've just felt like we needed change, such as colored bathroom, colored this, colored fountain, and white fountain, and I don't think that should have been. I don't think it should have been. But mind you, I got along with them. I did. In fact, I lived in Skokie, Illinois. I lived, well, that's been since then, but I stayed in the house, not the basement, with white people.
You were working for them?
I was.
Yeah. And when you went to Chicago in the 50s?
55, because I came back here around 59.
Yeah. How did Chicago compare to Mississippi?
It didn't. You work yourself to death.
Yeah.
You get up at night. I had to hop from L to bus trying to get from place to place. And when you leave, it's dark. When you come back, it's still dark. So you had no time for nothing too much. Because even on Sundays, they would pay something like extra. And if I had a chance to work on Sunday, I worked.
Yeah.
That was at Montgomery Ward.
So when you first went, you worked for a family?
I lived on premise at Skokie, Illinois.
And then you went to work for Montgomery Wards?
For a month, I didn't work. Maybe 2 months, because I got sick. Because I liked the job, but my nerve got on edge, and I didn't know what was happening with me, but I had to stop working. And that's when I started going really day work. Now that's where you work.
You do a week's worth of work in a day.
Everything be waiting on you when you get there. The nice one would have some knee pads. But you want to know something? I started cleaning floors on my hand, especially tile, myself, right here in Port Gibson. Nobody told me.
Did they really?
I did it myself.
Yeah. You told me you started your first job pretty young here.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Did you like working, or was it a burden when you were young?
No, I was about 16.
Yeah.
In fact, I had my own house at 16.
Did you really?
She was getting my Social Security check, and she'd bring that to me when it come. And Miss Bear was the one who rented the house for me.
Yeah.
She's the one who furnished the house for me. She was the one who bought me clothes and stuff, so I had no problem.
When you say Miss Bear, she was the mayor's wife?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And you referenced that you talking about your sister, right? When you say she would bring you your Social Security check?
That's who was getting my check, my sister.
Your sister, yeah. So
Lindsay Ruth.
You've always been, Lindsay Ruth?
That's her name.
You've always been independent.
I have.
Yeah.
I have.
So were you happy to move back to Port Gibson?
I was, but I guess I would have still been there. When I left for a reason. I was leaving the person that I came back and married.
You couldn't get away from it.
I didn't come right away. I gave him a year to think about it.
And tell me about your husband who you married.
Well, he was something like 24 years older than I was. And but he's a handsome man, you know, nothing short about him. And he was the head contractor in the lumber, field here in Claiborne County, Louisiana, Vicksburg. Everybody knew Harry. He's a contractor.
So when you came back and you married Mr. Guster, did you all stay? Was this your house then?
It was. He had the house when I came,
Did
but
he build it?
no. It really wasn't a house when I came. It was a shack.
Really?
He paid something like $2,500 for it.
Yeah.
And when I came, you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
You could stand on the front and look up under the house all the way back. Okay, this hall goes straight on back. Wasn't no bathroom inside. He stuck it where he could because with having no money or anything at that time, we had to put it close to where the pipes and stuff were. So I would never have thought that, and it didn't get like this when he was living now.
Yeah.
It's been since he been dead that I did a whole lot of work.
It's kind of ironic since he was a builder, right?
Well, the only thing about it, he did some, but the whole house, it was just one house,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But the lumber and things still good and whatnot. And he did what he could with the finance he had.
And so I think we were just looking at your birth certificate. You got married in, not birth certificate, marriage certificate. You got married in like 1959.
59.
And when you came back here and married Mr. Guster, were you working then?
Montgomery Ward.
When you came back?
I came back here on a 3-week vacation. And I told him that I would, you know, he knew what he had done, you know. Told me he was already married and wasn't married. I was 19 when I left here. and I told him I wasn't coming back here unless he married me. And if he didn't marry me, you know, I was going back within that 3 weeks. I was going back because my job was waiting on me. And he had told me he had put in for his divorce. Hadn't done anything. He had gone and talked to a lawyer, hadn't paid nothing. And I told him, I said, now, if you don't do something, I'm going back to Chicago. I hate that I did it in a lot of instances because that he had a son, and that caused friction.
Really?
And he was, you know, an underage child. So his ex-wife, you know, was so sure that he was going to take her back like he did before when they wasn't married at that time. They didn't marry till I went to Chicago. But he didn't do it. So I had problems with
Did the son
child.
stay with you all?
A lot,
Yeah.
a lot.
That must have been a challenge.
It was a big, big, big change, especially when the mother, you know, put the child up
Yeah.
to do things. But anyway, he got busy when I told him I was going back. And I bet you he went to see a lawyer then.
He did enough to convince you to stay.
He did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he was always, you know, fair with me about his child, too. You know, he saw what was going on. Did nobody send a cent but me to her every month.
Did you really? Yeah. Did the courts require that back then, or did you just do it because you thought it was right?
Oh, her lawyer.
Yeah.
Her lawyer. You know, way back in, the $25 was a lot of money.
That is a lot. Yeah.
That was a lot of money. And see, he couldn't guarantee no work in the wintertime. And it wasn't anything where in the decree where he didn't have to pay if he wasn't working. You ever heard of such?
Mm-hmm.
He still, we were borrowing money to pay, even for my sick mama.
Really?
You know, everything. And finally, we had to pay a lawyer to change it around where he didn't have to pay
Really?
if he, you know, wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
So she changed after the $25 a month. I told him, I'm not going to be around here while you fighting no lawsuit. I said, you better do it. I was just pushing him on. He said, oh, you came back for $30. I said, same thing. I pushed him, and he did it.
Yeah.
Then, the next time, he wanted $30 in advance. And what she did, She took Larry on over to Jackson to his brother's house, left him, and went on to Cleveland, Ohio.
With that $30?
But ask me this,
Yeah.
she didn't get the next $30.
'Cause
That was it.
Yeah. She wasn't taking care of his son. She
That
wasn't
was
gonna
it.
get
That's
the child
right.
support.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, you told me at one point that he worked for Mr. Walcott.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell us about, I bet a lot of people don't know about Rabbit's Foot. Can you tell us about that?
I can't tell you anything about Rabbit Foot. Harry used to work around Mr. Walcott and also drive him around. That's how I got acquainted. He wouldn't let me work, but he let me work for Hillary when she, moved here from Madonna, Ohio.
What was her name?
Hillary.
Hillary?
Hmm.
Okay. And so because of his relationship with Mr. Walcott,
He let me work.
and she was his sister,
Oh, his daughter.
his daughter? Okay,
Daughter.
I forgot
His
that.
daughter.
Yeah. And you were doing domestic work at her house.
Hmm.
Did you all get along? What was
Very,
she like?
very much so until her friends got to her. She was driving my car. I had a 1965, it hadn't been long got it. A Catalina, they stopped making them, Catalina Pontiac.
Yeah.
And I had a key to the house. Now, mind you, I was not even a member of the NACP. My thing was, I wanted to vote. I wanted to get people registered to vote. I wanted a little recognition and a better job. I may not get it, but somebody else come along, So every evening when I get off, I would go up there by, what's that drugstore name? McFadden's.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Rudy Shields and all of them hung out. And because I wasn't even going to the meetings. But I got acquainted with Rudy, and we go all over Claiborne County canvassing, after the federal people came in for people to vote. And the people would see me standing out there, so they got to her. It wasn't no secret. I had done my work at the house and everything, so I don't think you take your job home with you. One morning I was there. I noticed the change before that particular morning. She didn't know I was there because I didn't drive up there, I walked. And she come in with saying a few choice words. I don't even remember who she was talking to. And what she was going to, I can't use the term she used. And then she saw I was there. She said, "Well, Lee, we don't need you anymore." I said, "Well, thank you," and I left walking because I didn't drive up there that day. And that was it.
You can't.
But she came from Ohio and joined in with the people here in Claiborne County.
So she had a different attitude until she
Different.
started getting with them.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to use her words, but what was she basically saying? What was her point to her friends?
She was tired of all that damn shit. That's what she said.
And she's talking about the voting.
She was talking about them coming to her and me. I never stopped going up there. Every evening I would go up there and we'd canvass, bring in people to. I wore out a set of ties, I can tell you.
So when you said at first you weren't an NAACP member and you weren't even going to the meetings, you were just doing voter registration. Were you aware of it? Did you know?
I knew about the meetings and stuff. I knew all about that, but like I said, I was interested in getting people to register and vote because that vote and that dollar is what mattered, as far as I'm concerned. And that's what I was about. And I wasn't about no all white, and I wasn't about no all black.
And when she came up there talking to you,
she didn't tell me.
she was talking to somebody else.
I don't even remember who it was, or if she was on. I don't know, but I heard her.
Did she
So,
give you-
so I said, well, I might as well get ready to go. Well, you could tell it was fired up.
this wasn't gonna work out? When she said she couldn't use you anymore, after that,
Well, she was polite in saying that, you know,
yeah,
but I had heard all she had to say.
yeah. So you would go around by Mr. McFadder's, and that's where the Federal
And
Register was, right?
They were upstairs where Dr. Barnes used to be.
Okay. And how did you meet Rudy Shields?
On the street in front of the drugstore.
Did he start talking to you?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what he was like.
Brave. Wasn't scared of nothing. I don't know how to explain Rudy except he wasn't radical, but he just spoke up for what the things that he knew, you know, and he was doing what I wanted to do, try to get people registered. So I volunteered my car. And my husband, old 45, that wouldn't shoot. Army gun or something, wouldn't even shoot. It skipped. I didn't know that.
You're relying on it, and it's not even working.
Oh, he
right.
was relying on it.
Your husband?
No, Rudy. My husband, he was living, but I didn't let him, see, he was sickly, and I didn't let him march or anything, because, you know, if he had gone to jail, then that wouldn't have been good for him.
But he wanted to be involved, didn't he?
Hmm?
He was interested. He wanted to be involved.
Oh, he was involved.
Yeah.
He went to all the meetings. The people stayed here in the house. He slept back there, and I slept up here
Yeah.
with a shotgun.
Staying up, making sure.
Yeah, it wasn't comfortable at all, I can tell you. Looking back, I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't?
I wouldn't do it. Number one, I'm old, and I don't have a husband. I wouldn't take it on. Then you don't have anybody to back you up now. You know, like in the legal way, you get in jail, you could be sure you're going to get out. Because, you know, they're going to have lawyers and things, and the people to come up to go bond. But nobody's going to trust putting their property and stuff up off of what, maybe I better say this. But, you know, we don't have anything about it to back us here in Claiborne County, believe me.
Yeah. But at the time, did you hesitate? Did you have any hesitation back in the 60s?
About them staying here?
About them staying here, or about doing voter registration?
No,
or anything?
no.
Yeah,
I don't know where it came from, but I was brave.
yeah. What about Mr. Guster? Was he working when you were doing the movement?
Well, for a while, then he was Vicksburg, Louisiana, and Port Gibson. Those were the places mostly where he worked with nobody hired. We lived out of a VA check, $114 a month. Back then, that was a lot of money. Although $100 had to go to the bank on the car. And $43, I don't remember the cent, Social Security check, because he really hadn't paid into it. You know, he paid for his workers, but he hadn't paid it into it too much.
And,
So he lost all his work, I lost all my work. The $20 a week work, what I was getting from Hill Walcott.
was that a hardship for you all?
Hmm?
Was it a hardship?
Back then, you know, you could take little or nothing and make it, if you know how to do it. You could do it. That was good, well, to us, good money.
So, Rudy Shields, I know he came into the area with Charles Evers,
He did.
you know, from Chicago. Did he talk about Chicago at all, or why he came?
Rudy didn't have time to talk about nothing, but what he came here to do, we didn't have conversations. Now he stayed here long enough to sleep, and that's about it.
Yeah. What would he say about why he was, what he wanted to do here, what he was trying to accomplish?
What he said was said at, different meetings and things. It wouldn't be a personal thing.
Yeah. So was he quiet?
Like I said, he slept here. I'd feed him, in the morning. I wouldn't see him no more tonight. He'd eat somewhere else,
Yeah. So when you and Rudy would go out canvassing for voter registration, tell us what that was like.
Well, we had people, older people and things who didn't understand. They wasn't worried about voting or anything because we had never done it before. We had never done it. And some would go with us and some wouldn't, But that didn't stop. We go keep, going.
Yeah.
The next.
Did you try to convince people?
Well, yeah. We tried. But mostly the people who live on plantations, they were afraid. Does he need one? Oh, a chair.
Oh, you want to cut it off?
Okay, we're back.
Did you ever run into any trouble or any problems when you were registering people?
Oh, yeah, Rocky Spring, I never will forget that. We went out there. It was 2 trailers right together. No, I'm telling a story. It was 1 trailer, but it's kind of long. And they told us to come back the next day. Well, when we got back, the owner of the property was, a pickup truck was parked up on the hill, and he had his shotgun. How they have it across the back of the truck. And I told him, I call him Mr. Shields. I said, Mr. Shields. I said, he got a gun. He said, that's all right, Miss Gusto. That's what he called Miss Gusto. He said, we're not doing nothing wrong. So the man got out of his truck and came over where the people were standing. We don't want to lose what us got, Mr. Shields said, well, what do you have? Well, we got what us want. And I ain't gonna say what he said. Then that's when the owner approached, and he cited something from the law that we had a right to go, on private property and ask people to go register to vote. Mm-hmm. And when we left there, he beat us out, and it was a one-way bridge. I never will forget that. And he was parked right on the side. Rudy was in the back of my car with the skipping, shooting pistol. And I said, he was laying, wasn't sitting straight up. I said, here they are, he up here by this bridge. I said, what you gonna do? He said, Miss Gusto, you just drive. I said, well, don't I have to duck if they start shooting? I was scared to death. I'm not gonna lie. And so, but he didn't do anything. We went on by. He was still sitting up in his truck. But that was my scariest time. I was scared.
Did you worry about going on and going out the next day?
Oh, we went out.
Yeah.
We went out. We didn't go back there, because those people wasn't gonna go with us.
Yeah.
They wasn't gonna go.
Yeah. And when you said people were staying at the house, who was staying at the house? What were they?
Where we went.
No, at your house, when you would keep people at your house.
Civil rights lawyers. It was an African girl stayed here for months. Tut Tate. She was so sweet. Did you know Tut? She was so sweet.
Yeah.
And just different people, and I had nothing to do with being the housing chairman. They had all of that organized. Lily Mae Williams was the chairperson. Thelma Wells, I know you remember her.
Yes, ma'am, I sure do.
She was the co-chair. But anytime somebody needs somewhere to stay, we don't have any room. You know, they didn't ask anybody to take them. So we took them. We have had as high as 3, had to put a day bed up.
Yeah.
A civil rights lawyer, you know. So I said, you know, my husband was for it. So we did it. And we didn't get any money for it now. Although, you know how people talk. They said that we were getting called Harry Uncle Tom. Now, after we went through all of that, so he was slipping around to George Ellis. I think that's where this shoe store, we closed up. Now, here the shoes had been there for years and years and years. But Harry's slipping around there buying shoes. I was getting paid for hauling people to the pole. You know how people talk.
Yeah, I do, unfortunately.
So it didn't bother me because I knew it was a lie. And now after 3 weeks, you know, I did it for 3 weeks on my own. Different ones would give me a donation. When we go to the meeting, I would stand up and read the names off who donated toward gas. They had me getting paid.
Because you're getting gas money for some of your expenses?
A few dollars.
Yeah. Not a whole new set of tires either. So I know you said at first you were just interested in voter registration. Had you ever tried to register before or thought about it?
Didn't come about my mind.
Yeah.
Being around, I hung around the barber shop a lot. And you remember Mr. Collins? Now, they, you know, be talking, Mr. Jesse Johnson. But I never would have made it if I had gone up to the courthouse, tried to get registered, I don't believe.
Did you know anybody who was registered before the movement started?
Mr. Collins, Miss Collins, Nate Jones, Jesse Johnson, what is the Johnson main out? Another Johnson main out there at Patterson. He was registered.
Oh, I know, Roscoe.
That's him. Julia Jones. So all those people's registered.
Yeah.
But, you know, you could almost count on both hands how many
saying,
blacks was
most of
registered. I can't remember anybody, but I'm sure those.
People were registered. You said when the lady you worked for, when she was talking about she wasn't going to stand for this mess, you said at that point you weren't going to mass meetings, but did you start going to mass meetings?
I did, and joined.
And join the NAACP?
And I did wrong in one way. Our choir practice would be twice a month on Tuesday nights. That's when they had the meeting. So I didn't go to I didn't go to choir practice. Therefore, I couldn't feel my duties. I wouldn't do it now.
Yeah.
Because that's wrong, and I know it's wrong.
But at the time,
I didn't care about choir and nothing else. I didn't.
Can you explain, why it was?
I didn't want to miss it. You know, after Rudy organized the youth, then he put me over 'em. And so therefore I had to be there with the children, you know. I didn't worry about choir or nothing. So I put the Lord behind there, but I never do it again.
What were you doing with the young people?
They were the young people singing, the freedom songs and stuff like that. And then I even took them to church several times to let the choir sing.
What were they singing? What were some of the songs?
The freedom song. I ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Then, oh, freedom. And what else? He's got the whole world in his hand. I can't remember all.
Was James Miller and Carolyn
Well, James, I remember James well.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What was he like then?
Well, they were just children under me.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know.
Did everybody like the singing? Was that a highlight?
Well, I mean, that was part of the meeting every Tuesday night. Vera Groves.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What else besides the singing? What else was going on in the meetings?
Well, with my group, wasn't too much of anything, but when I asked Miss Alberta Comer, you remember her? I asked her to help me. Then A.C. Garner came in later, wanted to change the thing around to, I don't know how to say this, wanted to have dances and stuff, which I didn't go for.
Yeah.
You know, those people entrusted their children to us, and they said what was going to be happening, you know, with that stuff up there, they call it.
Yeah, yeah.
But after, you know, if they want to have a dim light up there, cars, plays, all that stuff, I moved down.
Yeah. What were the mass meetings like in addition to the, you know, what else would happen besides the singing at the mass meeting?
Well, what I didn't like, and one of the things kind of pushed me aside, they took the pulpit for a play place. I didn't feel like it should have been that way. They'd get up there. The youngsters now, like, do you remember, I call him, he died not too long ago, Buck. Doomy, what's his real name? I don't even know his real name. Doomy, everybody called him Doomy, but he stopped you from calling him Doomy. But he got up there one night, up in the pulpit. Now, I was over him. Over him. He got up there in the pulpit, and we gonna get beaten on the Bible. And it just run. Now, I wasn't doing right myself, but I didn't go up in the pulpit.
But you weren't doing that.
No, that was just out of
Yeah.
just a plumb out of order.
Who were some
The-
of the, oh, go ahead.
Then Reverend Dawson didn't feel comfortable about it.
Yeah,
That's when he stepped down,
yeah,
and that's when I followed.
yeah,
You know, and Miss Wells,
yeah,
yo Miss Wells,
yeah,
she talked about how Reverend Dawson stopped. You know, I said he had better stopped, or else he would not have been respected in his pulpit from none of the churches. You know. You know, you don't play that stuff in God's house now. I don't like that.
Who were some of the good speakers? I know you were quiet.
You're very quiet. Well, Thelma Wells, that's what she did, spoke. She could speak. Miss Julia Jones, Geneva Collins. You talking about around in here in town, right?
Yeah,
Now, Mr. Nate he tried to talk, but he was kind of stumbling like I would.
you two were the workers.
What's his name? Calvin.
Williams.
Calvin Williams. He was a good speaker. But he was on the radical side.
Yeah. What was he pushing for?
I thought we were pushing for the same thing, but I found out on the second go around, like I've told anybody that said anything to me. I was in Jackson with Harry then. Had I been here, I wouldn't have gone along with a second boycott because I didn't feel like it was fair to the people who had done what we asked. Now, what they should have done was tighten down on Claiborne Hardware, Piggly Wiggly, and folks who had not done. I wouldn't have followed. And the stuff what Reverend Walls doing, standing out there with a sign, and people walking in the store anytime they wanted to walk. That wasn't effective.
Yeah.
Now, in the first go around, didn't nobody go to no store.
And what happened if they did?
Well, you know, Well, didn't nobody go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What were the issues for the first boycott? What were the issues for the first boycott?
Now, I wasn't one of those people who made the plan, but it was a list of them, and they included like what I was talking about wanting to vote, recognition, and put your daughter or sister out of the store and put one of us on the cash register. And lo and behold, when we got a hold to it, that's who we put on ours. Our mart came in. There's friends, kins. When Head Start came, we said that all the jobs, let the low-income mothers and things work. When I looked, Thelma Wells, whose husband had a good paying check because he was service connected. My husband was not. Thelma Wells got a social work. I could have got a job, matter of fact. Mosetta had a store and about 4 workers, all black. You just look around and it's just not right. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
And I don't think they liked it too well.
Yeah.
When I, say how I felt, but that's all right.
Yeah. Did you ever have any threats at the house?
Oh, yes. It was on, we were supposed to have a banquet here for Merle
Evers?
She didn't make it though. And somebody called here and asked for Harry Guster. And I could tell by the accent it was someone, white. And I said, this is his wife, may I help you? Because the house was full of people. And he asked me, was I tired of living? He identified himself. He said he was a member of the Ku Klux. And was I tired of living? And I said, I can't say what I said. But anyway, he got the message.
Were you afraid?
Well, later on I was kind after the threat because they threatened to bomb this house and the Methodist place down there where Rudy was staying. And I didn't know what was happening. It was just one little lawyer that night. And so they were sitting out there. My car thing wasn't fastened in, and we were sitting up under the shed. And that old building, food stamp building I bought, I didn't realize folks was up on top of it. Then I looked. This lawyer wanted to go out to join the other. And so I gave him the old pistol. And he went out like this, like he was gonna shoot right then and there. And while we were sitting out there, I saw somebody. He had a hump when he walked. I said, it looked like Mr. Shields. And he went to the corner, made a bow, come back down. See, he didn't want me to know it, that they had threats out on him. So, but he had to tell us.
He didn't want to worry you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That, a truck came along or something came along and act like it was gonna stop that night. I was up here, Harris back there with those shotguns. And when I guess I didn't give it a chance.
You were saying that the truck came by the house that day when you were...
That night.
That night?
So I thought it was stopping. And I started, getting my gun ready. So the next morning, well, I shot the gun, I tell you. But it was aimed down at the mattress. And he always put a bullet in the barrel. And I forgot it was in there. So I said, well, I can, and the gun was still cocked. I said, I can let it down now. but I had it aiming, at the bed, which was good. And it went off, boom. And my husband come creeping out. He was scared to come. He said, Lee? I said, huh? He said, so-and-so woman, I thought you had killed yourself. They said I did.
So the only fatality was the mattress?
That's it. That's it.
Were you out at Alcorn when they had the marches out there?
Yeah, I was. When they shot the gas on us.
Yeah, can you tell us about the marches out there?
I can tell you this. Now, I only went one time. That one time, that was enough. I took the quilt and everything to stay all night.
Yeah.
But we didn't get to stay all night because they put the gas on us. And that burning your eyes up. Charles was telling him, told Ruby, see the girl, you stay over here. Put your head down in the ice cream box. Said that would stop the burning. Yeah, it was something that night.
Did anybody get hurt bad?
Well, I tell you, after, all of that happened, we went home.
Yeah.
I don't think we came on home.
What was,
Harry wasn't there. I didn't let him go.
You were worried about him?
No, I know that he was sickly, and he was on medication, and I didn't want him to be locked up or anything.
What was Mr. Evers like?
Right to the point. Right to the point. What came up went out to the point.
Yeah.
All he did too was talk. Rudy was the main one.
Yeah. Well, we talked to Mr. Nate this morning, and he said that you and Rudy Shields and George Henry Walker did most of the registering.
True.
We didn't talk about this today, but a number of years ago, Mr. Nate told me that some people thought Rudy was too radical.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
What were they talking about? What did they think?
Because he wouldn't take stuff.
Yeah.
And like Charles, what came up.
Yeah. You told me one time that you heard Mr. Hudson talking, like you were going on a march maybe or something, and you overheard him.
Well, what happened? No, they were mailing us.
Oh, okay.
My husband and I, see, Hudson used to have his store right up the street there. Is it where Country Crossroad is? Okay.
Next to it, I think.
Before we joined the NACP, well, that's where we got our groceries and stuff, and he was talking to my husband, and he was telling us, well, Harry, I'm going to do what they asked because the colored people is the one who support me. And he was the one who got out there and mailed us. And I didn't go in the new store until years after they built, and everything was over. Finally, I went on.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have to say nothing. He and this man, discount store man, he never did get a chance to open because we put him out before he ever opened.
Was that Jones?
I think so, around that corner.
I heard he was the one that was trying to bring the Klan in. The Jones?
And don't mistake yourself. Someone was with him right from around here.
Yeah.
That's my belief now.
They
I don't know
didn't have
that.
to come in from anywhere, right?
I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember we were upstairs where the Federal Register was. Bobby Gage, he came up there and made the Federal Register go and move all the cars off the lot back there. They had parked back there. It was on his property, true enough,
And he was
but wasn't nobody using it.
he was the president of Port Gibson Bank, and so he made him move those cars.
And not in a nice way,
Yeah.
very impolite.
What was it like during the boycott?
Well, you get used to it. I tell you what happened to me. Matt had the store up there, and I was getting my gas and everything up there.
That's Matt Ross?
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
And he didn't put no water in my car. And I was on my way to Jackson. Car caught on fire. So I had to buy a new motor because, they checked and see that that's what was happening. Now, that's one thing I dreaded. But all the rest of the thing, we did all right. We go to Vicksburg anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. Can you tell us about the Deacons, the Black Hats?
They were organized. There used to be an oak. No, the oak tree was here. No, it wasn't. It was out here. And we had an old green picnic table, wooden picnic table. They were organized right out there. Well, they took care of the business. When people disobeyed, now, one part of it I did not like, and I didn't go for, the shooting in people's houses. I never liked nothing like that. Mm-hmm. I don't mind you giving a good scare, but don't shoot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was if people didn't.
Guillermo. Mm-hmm.
They would go into the store and ignore the boycott. That's what would happen.
Mm-hmm. They'll warn you, but they knew not to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them did it just. Now, they wouldn't mess with people like Ninja or Miss Collins.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we didn't bother her.
How come?
Because she wasn't black.
Yeah. Yeah.
She wasn't black. Kate Bailey on the corner down there on around Flower Street. I don't know what she stood for, but she stopped.
Uh-huh.
She didn't go back. What's this woman's name? She stayed in Russell, had a pink house and a beautiful glass showcase window.
Oh, uh-huh.
Priscilla Duck.
Yeah.
That's who it was. And me and Ferd Allen, the president from down to Jefferson County, NACP, we was standing up there, and she was hitting. I said, that place is boycott. Don't nobody tell me where to spend my money. I said, all right. So I kind of passed it around. Next thing I know, that I didn't know that she was gonna send a letter with my name on it. Said that she told Miss Guster she was sorry. She sure did. Told me nobody tell her to spend her money.
Nobody's telling her, right?
And look, if I tell on my own, and I did tell on her, but I told Rudy, I said, don't you hurt her.
Yeah. What'd he say?
He didn't hurt her, but he's scared to tell about her.
Yeah. Do you all ever talk about that?
She don't know it. I
She
didn't
don't
tell her. I wouldn't tell her I did it.
Yeah.
But see, she was defeating my purpose.
Yeah.
She's still letting the candy man come to her house. And Thelma Wells would call me every time because she stayed right across from the candy man at your sister's house. So finally, last time I said, thank you, Miss Thelma. This is not Thelma. And I went over there and there were the premiums with it, what they gave her. I said, and told her over and over not to do it. Mm-hmm. So that stopped, I bet you.
So when the boycott, the first boycott was stopped on most of the stores, what did they agree to? What made the boycott end?
They put workers in there, black workers, and gave them privileges, And that's the reason I said it was wrong in them boycotting the people out of business who had done what we asked. You don't boycott out or hate out, I didn't think. I thought, but see, that's what Kevin seemed to been, because I said after the first time, we just accept who said they would run for office. And I said, well, why don't we ask a white person, and we get behind them and support them. If they give it to you, we gonna take it. I didn't go for that. I didn't go for that. Because the white can't do no without us, and we can't do without them. So when I built my school onto my house, I went to Bobby Gage, Robert. The old man. The old man with
The one that was
messing with the and he approved it. Okay. Cadman, he told me, now Leesco, he said, I'm going to be out of town on a meeting, and if Cat want to get started, you go see. You could do your own, help yourself then, but you could go to the one and ask for money, and they, give it without all this paperwork and stuff. Said, go to Mr. Drake and pick the papers up and whatnot. I went down there to Drake. It told me that it was a question to who my property, since I was in the lawsuit.
Oh, okay.
And
So, go ahead.
and they didn't give them to me. So that Monday when he came back, I went up there. The material was still on his desk where he had written it up. I thought he was going to back down. He said, we're going on with the loan. Number one, he used his head, because he knew if I didn't pay, they had the house. You see what I'm saying? And then two, during the that time, Arthurine Wide was in the bank and heard them talking about they were gonna take our house. And we was behind, and I knew that was a lie because I was keeping up with it. Because we had gotten behind. And sure enough, about 2 or 3 days later, I received a letter from the lawyer saying that, wanted to see me. I went up there with all of my receipts and something I must have misplaced, because I didn't owe as much as I thought I owed.
So which lawyers called you up there? Which lawyers did you have to meet with? You said they called you in there?
Bobby Gage.
So it's his...
Bobby Gage. He was a lawyer too,
Okay. So because somebody started that rumor, he wanted to make sure?
No, they were talking about taking my house.
He was talking about taking your house?
Because see, I had been working with the movement.
Yeah, so he's trying to...
Put us out. But
and you had all the receipts.
I had all, and must have didn't have one where I had paid or something, because I didn't owe as much as I thought I owed when I got there.
So they didn't go anywhere with that.
No, I mean, it was to my advantage.
Yeah, that's what I...
To my advantage.
So they thought they were going to get the house, but...
But had it not been that I pushed my husband on, because see, he didn't go to the bank and borrow the money. Rudy Shields, Miss Acker, that's her sister, Miss Shields, gave him the $2,500. That's all it costs. And Harry hadn't paid nothing on it when I came from Chicago, not one copper penny. And I told him, I said, you got to start paying. So that's what happened. And before long, she got where she couldn't, be over her own stuff. And Miss Shirley came along, her sister. Miss Acker had given Harry, he had been in an accident, and she had given him some money. She went back and brought that check up. Harry had to pay for it. And I told him, I said, see, they'd be putting us out for real if you hadn't started paying, on your house, right?
You mentioned about your property and the lawsuit. What was the lawsuit about? Can you tell us?
The move said we made them lose money. During the boycott.
Sued you because you made them lose money?
Boycott. And if you weren't in it, they were in it anyway. When I had to go to court over to Jackson, there was Buster Barber, who worked for Allen Motor. He was selling cars, and he didn't have no dealing with us. There was Big Charles Davis, who was buying the cars. He was over there. He didn't have no deal. If you were black, it make no difference. You might as well go head on.
So they got people who were in the movement and people who weren't.
That's right. That's right.
Somebody told me that they thought they looked at everybody that had property and put their names on there.
Look, they did. Now, some of them, they looked at, like Mr. John Ellis and his wife. They stayed out Kilmaway, I think. Two old people who didn't, do anything, but they'd help go bonds for us.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So they had them for that. They put them on the list for that.
Mm-hmm, I guess so.
In all those years when the lawsuit was going on, did you ever think you were going to win that?
Gonna win it.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't really give it too much of a thought.
You didn't?
I didn't. Because I didn't see how they could do anything like that.
Yeah. How did you feel when it went to the Supreme Court and you won?
Well, to me, it wasn't just a little room with a judge sitting up there.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a big thing. Mr. Dan Curry was over there too when I went.
Uh-huh.
And they asked him, what race was he? Are you of the black race or colored race or whatever? He said, no, I'm Ethiopian.
You were describing Mr. Wall's testimony in the Claiborne Hardware case when they asked him about his race, and he said, what did he say?
Oh, Mr. Curry,
Oh,
Dan
Mr. Curry.
Curry.
Why did I say Wall?
Dan
Yeah,
Curry.
Mr.
Mhm.
Curry.
He told me Ethiopian, and he was proud. I mean, he was in honest
Yeah. Yeah.
that he felt that way now.
Did you go to a lot of the trial? Did you go to?
No, I only went when they sent for us.
Yeah.
They didn't have everybody come at one time.
Did you testify?
Mm-hmm.
What was it like to testify? Just,
No, there wasn't too much to say.
yeah.
Really, if you want the truth.
Yeah.
How can you sue somebody because they lost money that they wouldn't be getting anyway because people wouldn't spend it?
Yeah. Were you finna say something?
Mm-mm.
Can you tell us were you in town when Dusty Jackson was killed?
I was.
Can you tell us about what happened?
I can't tell you. We did march, but it's something I really had to understanding of because they weren't affiliated one way with us.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And to tell you the truth, I didn't see having a march, but they did it. So
Yeah.
I hope I'm not saying I'm saying what I believe. So that's true.
That's all right. What happened to him for people who don't already know? What happened that night? With Dusty Jackson, what happened that night?
All
For
I
people
know,
who
he
don't
got
know.
killed.
He got killed?
That's all I know.
Yeah. Were you, did you have anything to do with the school desegregation? Did you work with any of the children?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some of the things you think are most important about the movement for people to know?
Well, for one thing, we learned that we could be together as one, at least for a while anyway. and I feel like we did accomplish something. And I also feel like we've lost a lot, and it's nothing to do with the white people. It's to do with us. We don't get along. Too many blacks. We need black and white together. Because, we're doing the same thing that they were doing to us. But I don't believe that they actually would want to come and work with us because there's so much a mess going on.
Yeah.
We can't get along with each of us.
What were you hoping, what are some of the things that you hoped would happen? Like, what did you, when you set out, what were you working towards?
Well, not so much for me, but there are young people coming along that they wouldn't have to go through things like we had to go through, you know. More for the young people. I mean, we've just about had our day.
Yeah,
Even back then, I was old, because I was old when I went to school, went up to Utica.
yeah. What was it like when the first group of people got elected, first group of African Americans got elected to office?
It was fine. People who, anybody could have gotten elected. Everybody was scared. They didn't, you know, some of them didn't have the expertise,
Yeah,
and if they did, they fear there, and the other ones didn't have it. Then they got in, you know, because we're gonna put them in because they're black. But that's the reason I was trying to. I really had thought about Thomas Russell.
yeah,
And I had mentioned that to Mr. Williams. Because they knew that they couldn't win nothing unless we backed them at that
Right.
time.
yeah. What was it about Thomas Russell that made you mention
He
him?
was just so kind and everything to everybody.
Yeah,
I'm saying that because I believe that's the type of person he was. He was my backbone in a lot of things.
yeah.
He was.
And Calvin Williams, he said no.
Well, you say if they're going to give it to us, we'll take it.
Uh-huh, so he didn't want to work with any white officials?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Did you ever think about running for office?
No, not for dog catcher. Because I'm telling you now, you can't satisfy us.
Yeah,
When I say us, I mean blacks.
yeah, yeah.
You got to look, and you know there are things that you can't do without the others. You can only do what you can, but you don't have a one vote.
Yeah,
But they'll be thinking you can do everything, and that'll be the biggest mess you ever seen like it is now.
if you were talking to young people, what would you want? What advice would you give them? And in terms of what you learned in the movement, or what you think they might want to know.
Well, you speak up for yourself, but you can't just sit there and talk. You got to work, you know. And you are somebody anyway, but you can make it better. Get out there and help.
Are there things that I haven't asked you about that I should? Are there things that I haven't asked you about that I should?
I don't know anything.
Have I forgotten anything? Any of the
I
important
don't think
things?
so. You can look back. You got my oral hips history from your daddy.
Mr. Nate asked me that. My dad never gave me copies of those,
Well,
so
I
I need to get one.
I got one.
All right. Well, I bet he still has it. I can get it. I don't want to take your copy, but I'll get it from him. But I was looking back at the one that you and I did together,
Okay.
and so that's how
You can mail it back to me.
All right.
Would not have known anything about me had it not been for Nate Jones.
That's true.
All those pictures on the wall up there. They know who was out there and who was doing what, and I'm not one to get up there and flounce and tell them nothing. It's just like when Kenneth called me and asked me about the mural up there. He said, would you get me 10 names? Well, I went way back because of the people that I knew. But there wasn't no women on there. He said, I gave him the names. He said, well, what about a woman? I said, Kenneth, I'm not going to put no lie out there. I said, most of the women that I know was there just talk. They get up and make good speeches at night and talk about what we ought to do and what not, but that was it. And he said, well, what about yourself? I said, well, I don't know nothing about myself either. He said, well, you don't have to. I said, I can't say nothing about me. He said, you don't have to. Somebody else did. Not today, I don't know who did.
It must have been Mr. Nate, don't you think?
I don't know. You didn't tell me.
Actually, you know what? I think my mom did.
Tell me. Who?
I think my mom talked to him at one point. I bet a couple people told him though.
I don't know.
Do
But
you like the mural?
hmm?
Do you like the mural?
Oh, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Is that you right there with Mr. Nate?
That little head sticking
Yeah.
up there
Yeah.
don't look like me. I saw them when they were painting it. It don't look like me.
Did you ever think there would be a civil rights mural in Port Gibson?
No. Let me tell you, when well, that was for something else. But he had us meeting, talking about a museum and all of that kind of stuff. And he even got money. You know, churches giving money, because I took $100 from my church. And come to find out, after he didn't go through with it, he turned it over to the NACP, which you don't do stuff like that.
No.
You give it back to where you got it from. And I never thought we'd have a mural.
Yeah.
But Kenneth Ross is smart. He's very smart.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah. What about the exhibit over in the county building?
Where?
The exhibit, the civil rights exhibit?
On inside the courthouse.
Yeah.
Well, they doing what like Miss Thelma, singing and talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Doing the same thing they did at the meeting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. George Henry very well deserved. Reverend Dawson deserved. You know, those people worked. And you see, Reverend Dawson went out there when it was hot. You know, when you went home, it had cooled down. And Miss Thelma told me one time over by Lynn House, she said, about Reverend, I think I mentioned this though, Reverend Dawson stepped down, and I said, well, he stepped down because of all the mess that was going on. I didn't mean the NACP was a mess, but the mess going on in his church, you know. And it you call it, she said, you calling it a mess, and look what that mess got you. I said, I wasn't talking about the NACP, I'm a life member, you know. And I said, well, it didn't give me no job, nothing first. Then she thought about it. It got me a job first, talking about Head Start, which she did not need, you know.
Yeah.
So I found those people out to be selfish. Now, Carl was my friend, close friend. Marguerite wasn't nowhere around when it was going on. Soon as she got in town, because of who she was, they appointed her president over Almont. You know, why can't, I mean, we were here during the struggle. Why couldn't they get somebody from around here? You know, we had some people know something, because she didn't know, they had to bring the folks from Jackson, Mr. Rep Smith and all of them. And I never did. It was $25 share. I had $25, but I didn't buy one.
Yeah.
I didn't buy one.
Did you used to shop over at Armart?
I'd go in there and buy small items,
Yeah.
but it was so high.
Yeah.
People were trying to go where they could get it cheap,
Yeah.
but I'd go buy it.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. So are you proud of what you did in the movement?
I'm proud. I am. But I didn't do it for no show now.
Yeah.
I didn't do it for no show.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody recently about Rudy Shields. I can't remember who it was. I was trying to remember.
Lately?
Yeah.
Okay. George used to talk about it all the time. George thought when Rudy got sick that I should take him.
Really?
I said, George, I can't do that. I said, this was during the movement. I had a husband.
Yeah.
I said, I can't have nobody sick on me, and I'm working too. I had a school.
Yeah.
I thought y'all were good friends. I said, we were good friends during the stuff of during the movement,
Yeah.
you know, but I couldn't go out that far.
Oh, I know who it was. It was a man in Yazoo that he used to stay with, and it's his daughter. He's trying to write something. She's trying to write something about Rudy Shields.
Mm-hmm.
So she was asking me, so that was good. Well, Ms. Guster, thank you so much for visiting with us and sharing your story. We're very happy to have it.
And it's the same story.
It's the same story.
Same story. I don't know any other way to tell it.
Thanks, Ms. Guster.
You're welcome.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture.